Today is our staff appreciation, pastor and staff appreciation lunch, and while reflecting on that, I reflected a little bit about my own time here. This spring actually marks the 5th year since I came on board here at Lake Cities. My actual start date was April 23rd, 2012, and so in my time here, I've learned a few things. Much with Pastor Renee's help. One is I've learned the value of a good pen. I'm now a pen snob. If it's not a great pen, I quickly set it down for somebody else to have. We get pens on Father's Day almost every year because Pastor Renee is also a bit of a pen snob, and so I've learned the value of a good pen. I've learned that there are some things that I think are very widely known, but they're really not. For instance, the world changed in 2012 because Google changed their inbox, right? I think that's very widely known, but apparently, by the looks on all your faces, like, wait, why is that relevant? Like, that's not something that's on everybody's radar. So there are some things that seem widely known that are not. I also, with Pastor Renee's pleading and insistence, have learned that analysis is easy, action is hard. Now, this also falls into the category of those things that seem like they should be very widely known, but it's not, because we like to sit in analysis, don't we? We like to analyze things. We like to try and figure out why or how or what happened here. But really, it's what we do that makes a difference. And getting to that, I've learned that one person can make a difference. But that doesn't mean we should expect Virgil to do it. They left at 8:30. I guess that hits a little close to home. See, the thing is, I have really enjoyed being a part of this congregation, and I came here 5 years ago. A big part of the reason that I interviewed in the first place was because this is a church that is in its community. This church has a food pantry that serves people out of our building. We have a community aid fund. We do all sorts of things to help the hurting in this community. It's something that I initially fell in love with. It's something that I still absolutely love about this church. And so y'all show appreciation to me by your service, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today. You see, when you look at this community as a whole, you might not see a whole lot of need. You look at a demographic study of Lake Dallas, Hickory Creek, Corinth, and Shady Shores, and you'll see significantly above average incomes for the state. You'll see significantly above average education for the state. You'll see significantly above average home price for the state. But if you look at Lake Dallas Elementary and Lake Dallas Middle School, you see something a bit different. You see both schools are Title I, and that means that there's a significant portion of the student population that is on free or reduced lunch. At the elementary school, it's 58%. 58% free or reduced lunch at the elementary school, and at the middle school, it's 47 and climbing. Now, how does that happen? It kind of boggles my mind from time to time. You see, because when I was growing up, my mom said, if you can make your lunch and take it to school, but if you buy your lunch at school, you've got to you got to do chores or earn money by reference soccer games. You've got to buy it yourself. And so I thought it was a little expensive to buy myself, and I didn't want to make my own sandwich at all times. So I tried to get on free and reduced lunch, and it's not that easy. It's really not that easy. You actually have to be in need to get on free and reduced lunch. And not just the need that I thought that I had, you have to be like really in need to get on free and reduced lunch. And at the elementary school, more than half of the students are on free and reduced lunch, and almost half across the way. And I got to thinking about how that begins to affect things. You see, some of the things that you and I know and that seem like would be obvious to other people are more difficult when you don't have. You see, the value of a good pen is something taken for granted by many students. I have a poem here that went viral a couple of years ago by a young man who actually he won competitions for it, and then it went all over the internet, and so I'm sure he didn't collect enough royalties for it, but he should have, because this is a great poem. A young man who was living in need and submitted this for the competition. Joshua Dickerson wrote this. I woke myself up because we ain't got an alarm clock. I dug in the dirty clothes basket because ain't nobody washed my uniform. I brushed my hair and teeth in the dark because the lights ain't on. I even got my baby sister ready because Mama wasn't home. I got us both to school on time so we could have a good breakfast. And then we got to class, and the teacher fussed because I ain't got no pencil. You see, the value of a pen or a pencil can be more than we realize sometimes. Sometimes we see people and we see somewhere where they fell short and we don't see the whole picture. The teacher in this poem doesn't understand the struggle that it is for that young man to get to school and to learn. And so we sometimes, in the comforts of our life, we in our above average lives here in the Lake City, sometimes don't see how difficult life can be for those who are at a disadvantage. And there's a number of things that put people at disadvantage. Maybe it's a language barrier. Maybe it's a poverty barrier. Maybe it's your mom's got so much work that she has to leave for work before you wake up for school. And you've got to get yourself ready. And you've got to get your siblings ready. And that bus comes, you know that bus is coming the same time every morning. And sometimes you're chasing it down the street. Because if you don't make it, you don't get breakfast. Or maybe mom is at home because she can't find work. And because she can't find work, and because she can't put food on the table for you, she's so depressed that she can't function, and you're having to adult for her too. Sometimes the kids in the community are doing a lot more and putting up with a lot more than our eyes see. Sometimes the things that seem widely known are not. You see, young people in our community are at disadvantages. And it doesn't take much to help. Sometimes offering a pen or a pencil without fuss is what the kid really needs that day. Because they're strong enough to at least get themselves there. Sometimes things happen that really can affect their day, and then sometimes all it takes is a smile and a nod. And you see these kids at these schools are at a disadvantage. And the thing is that sometimes people want to ask why. Well, who did something? Why don't they know that if they would just not have cable television, they could save like $100 a month, and you could buy food with that? Don't they just know that leasing a car is not the cheapest way to have a car? It's actually the most expensive way to have a car. And that they, if they just save their money, then they could have. These things that seem simple and seem obvious to us are not simple and not obvious to everyone. Maybe nobody even taught their parent what to do. You see, that position of disadvantage, that position of handicap is exactly what our scripture deals with today. You see, there was a man who was born blind. Right? And back in the day, they didn't have Braille on signs. They didn't have accessibility options on your computer. They didn't have computers, if you didn't know that already. Things widely known, right? It was impossible for somebody who was blind to contribute positively to the economic society. They could not make enough money to feed themselves. They could not function without others. And so they sat in busy places and they begged. They asked for food. They asked for alms, money, so that they could live. Because without it, they couldn't work. They were at a disadvantage economically. They may have wanted to contribute positively to society, but they just couldn't. And so this man who was born blind, had been blind his whole life, his spot to beg was right there in front of the temple. Jesus comes along and the disciples ask, who sinned? Whose fault is it that this man is in this situation? And there's actually some really deep questions involved there. But what I'm getting at is they ask, why is he blind? And Jesus' response is to kind of dismiss the question. He says it's not about that. It's not about who sinned. I'm going to put mud on his eyes, and I'm going to send him to the pool of Siloam. He's going to be healed in his sight, and he's going to get back up. And he's going to have a life so much so that the people barely recognize him. This man had sat here on the steps of the temple his whole life, and the people barely recognized him after Jesus was done with him. This man had been at a disadvantage, and Jesus answered the disadvantage with healing, with action instead of analysis. He didn't get bogged down in whose fault it was that this kid doesn't have anything to eat. He fed the kid. He gave the man his sight. And so we often in our society, we like to look at why. We like to try and figure out, well, they don't have health care because they got an iPhone. And we like to ascribe blame or fault. But the reality is there are kids hurting in our community. And it wasn't a mystery at the time. The pool of Siloam wasn't a mystery at the time. It was actually right outside the temple, and it was fairly common for people to be cleansed of sin, washed in the pool of Siloam, and healed. Right? I mean, it seems weird for us that a man who doesn't have sight to be healed, that's a miracle, right? Jesus does lots of miracles in Scripture, but this particular miracle was something that was fairly common. People would go to the pool of Siloam, wash, and be healed. Rabbis would do this for people. But this man had been there and had been left behind. And they were more concerned about asking, why is he this way, than actually healing him. My friends, it is not a mystery today that a child without a father is at a disadvantage. A single-parent household, you're more likely to be in poverty, you're more likely to not graduate high school, you're more likely to be incarcerated. We know that. And we know that if you inject an adult male mentor into a young man's life that doesn't have an adult male at home, that incarceration rates decrease, reading retention increases, and the chance of the cycle of poverty can be ended. We know this. We know the solution, but sometimes we still get bogged down in who sinned. Why is it this way? And instead, Jesus says the problem of poverty, the problem of need, just needs action. The problem of education just needs action. You know, there are some things that people really widely know that not everybody knows. The value of an education. For every level of degree that somebody gets, high school diploma, associate degree, bachelor degree, master's degree, doctorate, for every different level of graduation, it represents a lifetime earnings potential difference of over $1 million. Yet there are kids graduating from high school this year that are going to say no to college because they don't want a $10,000 student loan, and they're passing up on $1 million of lifetime earnings. How can you break poverty if you don't know the value of education? How can you break these things if you're sitting here trying to analyze whose fault it is that somebody's in the situation instead of just fixing it? It's a humbling thing to look specifically at the demographics of our community, because you see that there's a lot of people that have, there's a lot of people that know what to do, they know the right thing, they know how to life, and they're doing well at it. But then there's these pockets of poverty, there's these pockets of need. And you say, well, how does that fit here? Can't we do something about it? And the answer is we can. Our bishop has called all our churches to a challenge of 1 + 1 + 1. 1 adult, 1 child, 1 hour a week. 1 adult, 1 child, 1 hour a week. Would you dedicate an hour of your life each week to mentoring a child in the community? Because if you do, you can change a life. This is not anything new. This is not some clouds parting revelation. This is something that there are studies after studies after studies that back this up. This is the problem. Here's a solution. Do it. And our bishop has called us to do it. The gospel message for us today, the scripture example, is to do it. Don't ask who sinned. Put yourself out there and solve a problem. Now, if you're like me, you may have tried to volunteer at our schools. You may have gone onto the website and tried to fill out the background check and realize that it asks for your student's name. Well, I don't have a student at the middle school. My oldest is 4. So I didn't fill it out. Not background checked. I'm not cleared. I'm background checked here, but not with the school. And so I wanted to volunteer, but I found a barrier and I stopped. I've gotten a meeting with our principal at the middle school, Principal Parker, and he has connected me with a number of resources and opportunities for us to plug you in. We have problem solved together, and now if you are from this congregation and you want to volunteer at the school, for the child's first name you put Lake Cities, and the second name you put UMC, and the background check will go through. It might be that God is calling you to give up a little bit of time in the morning before school, in between when the bus drops a kid off to when classes start. You know, those kids, just like the poem, the kids that show up for breakfast at school are often the kids who are on free or reduced lunch. Because that might be their only opportunity to get breakfast. And so could you make a difference by greeting a kid with a smile, making sure a kid has a pen or a pencil for the day, by being there in crowd control for an hour a week before school? Before most of us really start our day. So what do you begin up? Sleep? Morning news? Nobody wants to watch the morning news these days anyway. Maybe it's lunchtime in crowd control. I've often been known to compare a lunchroom to that Valley of the Dry Bones that Ezekiel talks about, that place with absolutely no hope. That's a middle school lunchroom, right? Large crowds of middle schoolers can be very intimidating, not just to adults, but sometimes to the middle schoolers too, right? And so being there, being somebody's buddy in that room can make a difference in somebody's life. But if you're too intimidated by those large crowd situations, there are also individual opportunities. There's a program called Communities in Schools that a grant provides half of the salary for a representative, and then the school puts up the other half of the salary, and it's basically a social worker for the specific school. And the social worker at Lake Dallas Middle School has a caseload of over 100 students. Over 100 students that you could volunteer to maybe sit across the table and play a game of checkers with and just chat about life. To ask them if they've done their homework. To check on how they're doing. You know, their mom might be either so overworked that she hasn't had a conversation with them in months, or the mom might be so depressed. These are realities of poverty in our community, and you can make a difference. And it doesn't take much. 1 hour a week. From now till the end of the school year is what you're being challenged with today. At the end of our service, we have an invitation song. And during that invitation song, it used to be like when people would like parade forward, you know, like doing Grand Revival, like, you know, I'm coming forward in faith, right? I'm going to join the church, whatever. Today, the invitation is this. Will you be one of the people that commits yourself 1 hour a week for the rest of this school year? And so there's only a couple weeks left, really. We're after spring break. Would you commit yourself 1 hour a week in service to Lake Dallas Middle School specifically for the rest of this school year? That's going to be the invitation. And the thing is, I know, and our bishop knows, that that's not an easy ask. Some of us are those people that are overworked. Some of those of us in our pews are the people who are so busy that an hour is too much to give. So the goal is 10% of the congregation. 8:30 service, 25% came forward. So don't feel bad if you can't come forward. But if God is working on your heart right now to actually do something about a problem, instead of just wonder who sinned, then that's the invitation for you today. 1 hour a week, Lake Dallas Middle School, the rest of this school year. Because the gospel is that sometimes all it takes is a little bit of action, and you can really, really make a difference. This is the word.